Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Ball Games in Bellingham, Mass. Here I'm actually on camera playing against Turtle, who's on a black-green Aristocrats style deck. I'm on mono-green Stompy, and leading out with a mulligan with this majestic, unsleeved pile of cards. Pauper is truly magical. Back to the early days of Magic, before we knew what deck protectors were or net decking or any of that stuff. It's the Wild West. Got a mulligan down to 6, leading out with a Skargan Pit Skulk. We'll find that this metagame is wide open. So many possibilities. Seems like Tron should be the best deck, but I don't know. A Stompy deck is pretty good too. Burn is good. Burn's actually a nightmare matchup for Tron, so it is really anybody's game. And we've got a Rancor here. It's going to make this guy very difficult to block for now, though Turtle can get some really beefy bodies on board. Another colony garden. Another Rancor, and now sending for 5. And going to try and give him -1/-1. The time to do that probably would have been in response to the Rancor. If he does end up dying, those Rancors are both going to come back. And it's going to be a Vines of the Vastwood just to protect him for one turn here. No pump, but 5 more damage coming in, and the shields are down. As far as keeping this Pit Skulk alive, if Turtle has another piece of removal, only 1 toughness necessary to take care of. I'm not sure what that card is. And a Nest Invader. Nest Invader, a card that I'm playing in this Stompy list as well. 5 more damage coming in. And oh, it's a Spore Frog. There we go. So Spore Frog being sacrificed to prevent the combat damage. A couple of Howl of the Hunger Packs after he's sacrificed to turn this Skargan Pit Skulk into a 10 power creature. Definitely gonna need to deal with this somehow. Tragic Slip comes to mind. Turtle does have access to that card. And there's only 7 toughness to take care of, which is far less than 13. Rancor. And a Brindle Shoal. Sending back. Nettle Sentinel. Pre-combat. Sending for 10. Was that not 10? 6 + 1. Oh, sending for 11. +1 is 12. There we go. So, a little miscount there. Howl of the Hunger Pack pushing through the extra 1 point of damage with that +1/+1 counter. And of course, very unblockable at that point, as he could not be blocked with creatures smaller than him, which is almost all of the creatures ever printed in Magic at that point, as a 12/12. That 1-mana Skargan Pit Skulk doing some serious damage and putting me with Stompy up a game here. Very similar builds in some ways. We're running some overlap cards. The Nest Invader, of course, as we saw. Rancor. It's really going to be a question of the mana base. I do like the monocolored mana bases in Pauper, to be honest. burn, mono white, mono black, mono green. All of those. Kind of fan of not having the mana issues. The new lands from Throne of Eldraine are considerations for some of those builds, particularly mono black, as they get the Witch's Cottage, I think it is, a swamp that can also put a creature on top of your library. Really helps get some extra utility out of the mana base. Previously, they were running Baron Moors, and it just kind of feels awful when you're running cards like Defile or Tendrils of Corruption, where you're counting the number of swamps. You know, when swamps matter, those cycle lands really feel pretty terrible. Monocolored mana bases do tend to be more consistent. But as we see, Turtle probably has the more powerful deck when things do come together, as the combination of Carrion Feeder and Mortician Beetle can be very, very potent. And he gets the play here, leading out with that Carrion Feeder. On the other side, it's going to be a Quirion Ranger, one of the strongest, really key cards in the deck, allowing you to pick up those lands and replay them, getting double use out of your mana. A lot of games you actually only have a single forest, and you can still do real work. And of course, if you have two forests, it can allow you to get up to the 3 mana necessary for so many plays, including Elephant Guide, but even just chaining together multiple 1 and 2 mana spells. And a turn 2, we've got Burning Tree Emissary into Nest Invader, triggering for a extra Eldrazi. We've got the ability to sacrifice a couple. We actually got 3 possible things to sacrifice now. The plant token, and then this, it's like Blister Pod or something, can be sacrificed twice essentially. Yeah, Blister Pod, that's actually the name of it. And leading out pre-combat. Tap, return. And gonna Savage Swipe the Nest Invader to take down this Carrion Feeder. So it has a +1/+1 counter on it, thanks to sacrificing that plant token off of Colony Garden. It could go to a 4/4. And attempting to Tragic Slip. And now Rancor on a Burning Tree, so that Savage Swipe essentially countered by that Tragic Slip. And now 4 damage coming in off of this Burning Tree Emissary. Post-combat, getting a Skargan Pit Skulk. Guy that can usually be pretty difficult to block, though Turtle may not have too much difficulty with this Mortician Beetle getting pretty large. Rancor on the Carrion Feeder. Sends for 4. Return to untap. And gonna go ahead and block with the Burning Tree Emissary. And this is kind of a terrible spot here with this onboard trick. If he sacrifices his whole team, this is really forcing him to have an answer in hand. Does he have one? He sacrifices. And he does. He's got the tragic slip. So able to swing because he had it. Now have a Howl. Plus. Right now he's 5 power. It looks like he's going to go to fight the Carrion Feeder. So 6 power, 7 toughness. Epic Confrontation. +1/+2 and fight. Savage Swipe as a 4 of now in this Stompy build. Epic Confrontation, a card that does a ton of work here. And he can take down either one of these creatures. Let's see which one is actually being chosen as the target. Carrion Feeder cannot block. The Mortician Beetle can, but won't be too happy to. It would be getting squished. And it looks like they're both going to trade. So Turtle, cashing in his entire board to get that Pit Skulk off, has to sacrifice the Mortician Beetle to the Carrion Feeder. And now another Carrion Feeder comes down, along with a Spore Frog. Rancor on the Quirion Ranger. Going to go ahead and send, pick up, return, and a Wild Mongrel. Once upon a time, that was considered to be the best creature ever in Magic. Now it's a singleton in this Stompy list. Another Carrion Feeder. Wild Mongrel and Quirion Ranger getting in there. Spore Frog, the only option here. Could trade with the Quirion Ranger. Gonna take the damage. Another Quirion Ranger lands. And gonna play a Forest to untap the Quirion Ranger. Young Wolf. Carrion Feeder kind of has a similar problem to Wild Mongrel, in that it uses a very specific resource, so they don't do well going wide. The Wild Mongrel, I'm down to a single copy of it, just because when you draw multiples, they can't actually do their thing. The Carrion Feeder, in a similar way, now that Turtle has 2 of them, only one of them can really get pumped up by cannibalizing his own forces. Quirion Ranger looking to block. One being sacrificed. He's got to sacrifice 2 more creatures in order to make this Carrion Feeder stick. Will he do the other Carrion Feeder? Oh, he's thinking this through. There's a potentially lethal crack back here. The Spore Frog. Okay, so he's actually going to let that damage resolve. That's what we're seeing. So the damage is resolved. Carrion Feeder trading for the Quirion Ranger. Now Rancor coming down on Wild Mongrel. It swings. A very close game here. 9 life for Stompy, 7 for this Aristocrats build. Is now the time for this Spore Frog? Not unless it's actually lethal on the stack. And a Nettle Sentinel, another able-bodied blocker. 2 cards in hand, can go up to 3 by returning the forest. And now a Nest Invader. He can soak up 6 damage with his potential blockers. Wild Mongrel capable of hitting for 7. I think he might be dead. Carrion Feeder can't block. Rancor not going to matter. In terms of the total toughness, we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total toughness on board. And Wild Mongrel alone, by returning that forest and drawing a card for turn, can hit for 7. That leaves 3 other 4. I mean, I think that's what we're looking at. Ooh, Young Wolf actually trading with the Nettle Sentinel. And now Wild Mongrel swinging. Spore Frog being sacrificed. Do you untap now? Yes. Untapping now. That allows for the other forest to be returned on Turtle's turn, keeping Mongrel as large as possible, though not outside of Tragic Slip range. Rancor for Carrion Feeder, 3, 4, 5 power can be made there. Does he have any creatures to go along with it? Brindle Shoal. And might as well swing... Oh, with Nest Invader as well. 3, 4. So we can only get 4 toughness on board here. So blocking has to be done. This Brindle Shoal will make a 3/3 when it dies. Six life to play with, no cards in hand, so it's just a matter of sorting out this board. The Carrion Feeder can go up to 7 power at most, so the Quirion Ranger's gonna absorb one of it. But that would leave Turtle with no blockers, so he'd be dead on the crackback for sure. And the question is, how is he going to absorb the damage here from the Wild Mongrel, who is rankered up? That trample, incredibly important, hitting for 4 before cards get discarded to it. And there's going to be 3 forests in hand, along with the 1 card for turn. He's got 4 toughness to throw in front of it. This should do it. And this Stompy deck, incredibly, using its entire mana base, just so efficient, turning those forests into extra damage once the mana was extracted from them. And Stompy just eking out the game versus this black-green Aristocrats. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.